because I worked for an association that develops standards. So there's a whole association, membership association that deals with standards. And so I would, do my continuing education through their program and things like that. But they never mentioned anything about PMP.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So
So,
where are you at on feeling comfortable with knowing what the PMP is now?
I mean, other than just doing some research, I went to the PMI website to
Okay.
find out about, PMP because
Overwhelming, right?
very, very, and it's surprising because you know, s- s- from my point of view, project management is basically the same steps to regardless what industry you're in,
Mhm.
but not knowing the terminologies that are now used for
Yes.
what I did for like 20 years.
Yes.
I know how to start a project, solicit participation, deal with
Mm,
things that hiccup during the middle of a project, and and how I
mhm.
know all of that, the
Yeah,
process, but not the actual terminology.
the terms. Yes, it's like speaking a whole nother language, right? Like
It is.
I say this all the time. I'm like, be prepared. You're gonna have a whole new vocabulary. Yeah, that's what I found. I was working on a lot of projects and then I got into a PMO office and I was like, oh gosh, like there's a lot of terms. I'm feeling like I'm lagging a little bit. So I was like, I need to really brush up on this and get prepared for doing my PMP. That was that transition for me as well.
Yes.
So completely understand. Well, you're in the right spot. Welcome, everyone. I've got two screens, so if you see me looking in weird directions. So welcome, everyone. It's so great to see you all. You don't have to turn your camera on by any means, but I love seeing people's facial reactions and all of that too. So in this presentation, and Andre's here, so which is great, and Crystal's here too, so they're available. Feel free to ask questions at any time. There's that virtual hand raise, so you can always do that. But also like I should see your mic coming unmuted as well. And just interject. This is supposed to be a live conversation. All right. So we can always pivot and answer those questions during this whole time. So most of you all are probably here because you're ready to take the next step in your career. Maybe you're ready for a promotion, a raise. Maybe you're starting in a new industry or a new career. The good news is PMP and project management is not going anywhere. It is only going to get more and more popular because it is an industry standard, as we were just talking about. And it's an industry standard, maybe that your job hasn't mentioned, but if you go and look at jobs to apply to, you will definitely see that if you want that higher position, especially within government or anything along that nature, where it's a little bit more structured, you are going to need this PMP certification. It's a project management professional. So that means you really know your stuff. You know the terminology, you know the formulas and the processes, and you really know how to help a project succeed in the best way. All right. So we're going to cover what it is. We're going to talk about some career benefits. And again, we want to help you understand. And so we're also going to tell you about our upcoming principles of project management, as well as our PMP exam prep that is going to be happening as well. So hopefully this gets you in a position where you're like, okay, I can take a deep breath. I have a little bit more knowledge. I'm not overwhelmed by PMI's website's wealth of knowledge. So it'll just provide a little bit more clarity. All right. So we're going to start with some introductions so that you know exactly who to ask questions to. So first, let's start with Crystal. Crystal, if you just want to say hi and give us a little intro of you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Crystal Brown. I'm the program coordinator in the Business and Entrepreneurship Department at Prince George's Community College, and I coordinate the project management classes. Among a lot of other programs at the college for continuing education. And thank you all for being here this morning. I know that I just contacted some of you this morning, and I'm glad that you're able to make it. So you all are going to be informed about a lot of information and great things that are going on at Prince George's through our partnership with APB and Associates. And I will just say that I just finished the spring session of the principles and the PMP courses, and I am on my way to, preparing myself for the exam. So I'm in the same boat that you all are in, just a little bit further ahead, but I will tell you that the classes are interactive. Renee and Andre bring a wealth of experience and knowledge to the classes, and even some real life situations that the other instructor, Renee Reynolds, real life, I mean, things that she was dealing with on a constant basis as a project manager in her current position. So you're going to get a lot of great information, and it'll put you at ease, because the class that I was in, which was the largest that we've had so far, had various backgrounds and various experience in project management from those who had been accustomed to project management and the processes, and those like me who have made up my own processes. And I just wanted to be more organized in doing the job that I do and other volunteer work that I do on the side. So you'll get a wealth of information, and please, please, please ask questions while you're here. And I'm sure Andre and Izzy will be able to answer them for you. So thank you so much and welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Crystal. Yeah, that's one thing that really, I think, sets our program apart from other programs is that although we're virtual, we're very, very interactive. And our instructors have that real world experience. So we can really bring that to the table. But also it's just really fun being in these classes where, what was it, Leslie, I think it was saying that, 20 years of project management experience, where each person is bringing their own experience, or if they're new to it, they're bringing their own questions. And so we will learn from each other so much during that class when it's live and virtual, and we're really in it. It's really fun. All right. Andre, do you want to talk about yourself, or you want me to talk about you?
Neither. I just want to say good morning, and I am going to be hard on Crystal to make sure that she's studying and preparing for that exam. So, Crystal, I'll start bugging you here soon and see how you're studying. Trust me, Renee and I will. So again, thanks everybody, and I echo everything that Izzy says and Crystal says, and I think the Prince George's Community College is to be commended for their efforts and their willingness to make so many project managers. It is a high in demand certification. It does lead to career growth and increased responsibility, which typically comes with more money. And the college has really gone above board. And I thank Crystal again to make this available to the community at a good and an affordable rate. So I encourage you all to take advantage of it. Bring others, share the good news about this opportunity, and the more the merrier. So thanks, Izzy and Crystal, and that's it.
All right. So what Andre didn't say about himself is that you can see he has lots of certifications. He's been doing this for a very long time, and he's been doing this on multiple different styles of projects as well. So I don't think there's an industry that Andre hasn't touched, which is amazing because, if there is any questions or we need to get you an answer on something, we can always come back and ask Andre to help us out on those. And he's an amazing facilitator as well. Your main instructor for these courses, and I like to say this so that who you're going to get if you decide to take this class or when you decide to take this class. So Renee actually has a PhD in business. Of course, she has her PMP. She also has the ACP, which is the Agile certification as well. She is in this. She works for the government building the Navy ships. So that's her projects that she's managing. So she's on it. And as you can see from down below, there's some of the places that we are teaching, some of the businesses that we've worked with, and then those certifications as well with APB. All right. So we know the industry's changing, right? Everyone's heard of ChatGPT. That's came out. Everyone's heard of like all these new AI functions. And I was telling Andre, my dad and I were getting in a conversation the other day, and it's like, you can just install this AI on your computer and it can help you organize everything, and it can do all of this stuff. So a lot of that can create a little bit of a scarcity mindset where we're going, oh my gosh, technology is going to take over everything. What am I going to have left to do? Well, the good news is technology cannot take over our projects. Technology cannot manage the people. It cannot be the leader. So when we're looking at really developing talent and skills that support projects and us working together, and we can see, you know, over the course of the past couple of years that communication, teamwork, a lot of that, some of those skill sets have fallen to the side. And project managers are really the ones that pick up that and help implement. It can be a very, very fun job when you are building up that team and getting interactive and developing those relationships, because there is research to support, like when we have better relationships and better team and talent skills, we will be able to have a more successful project. All right, so agile is what's really on the rise. If you haven't heard this term yet, we are teaching that agile project management because a lot of the integrations that's happening in these businesses that are requiring a project from start to finish is integrating more IT, more customer service systems and things along that nature. As we do that, we need people who can work in an agile manner to better deliver these products on time, on budget, sometimes under budget, and get those results and get that feedback faster. So who has heard the word like Scrum and Agile? Have you all heard of this? And you all can just type it in the chat. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, and you can unmute too. Yeah, perfect. So utilizing these project management software programs, I see a lot of companies that are starting to use it, but they don't know how to properly use it. They don't know how to make the most of it, and they don't know how to get the team all on that same page. Right? Yeah, sometimes we're like, we're not even on the same page. We're in a whole nother book, right? So we want to be able to help get people on the same page and at least in the same book. So this is how technology and how the future is really shifting. So if we look at from 2019 to going into 2025, we can see where the current and the past has really looked at these skills in rank. And that top one had really been that complex problem solving and looking at analytical thinking and innovation. But we're really seeing this start to shift because now, you know, we got ChatGPT. Well, someone has to enter that information in. Someone has to type that in as an example. Someone has to put that all together, because I will tell you, if you go on to ChatGPT and you're like, what are the steps for a great project? Like, what steps do I need to put this project to? It will give you a very generic answer. Only a skilled project manager with PMP who has gone through all of those functions and those processes that need to be put in place and able to pivot and navigate the situation, the team, the desires, what the stakeholders are asking for, are going to be the ones that are really winning as we move into the future. You know. So what's PMI? So you might have heard us talking a little bit with the PMI.org. We went to PMI.org and there's like a ton of information on there. There is. I mean, you can get lost and swallowed in the information, which is beautiful because once you know what you're looking for, you go to that website, you type it in, it is there. But you have to know what you're looking for. Now, the Project Management Institute is internationally recognized. So when you get your PMP, because you're going to do it, when you get that PMP, you are going to have an internationally recognized certification. Now, one thing I always like to talk about, I'm like, you can change it up. You can go from project to project if you wanted to. You could travel all over the US or all over the world if you really wanted to, virtually or in person, because a lot of work is virtual nowadays, which is really great. I'm a mom, so I get to work from home, so I can still, have lunch with the baby and all these things, right? So this is fun as far as that flexibility. All right. Did I raise my hand? Oh, it's showing I raised my hand. I didn't do that. It's not on purpose. I hit a button. All right. So looking at this and saying, like, when I get the PMP, it's not going to go unnoticed. And we're going to talk about that return on investment here in just a moment. But I like to say this because when we're going and we're typing in Google and we're like, how do I become a project manager? What are all of my options out there? There are going to be a lot of options for who you can study with, or maybe there's this one, maybe there's that one. But I can tell you that none of them are going to be recognized like PMI and PMI's PMP is. If you want to have a government job or something where there is a lot of regulations, they are going to require the PMI. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about PMI? No? Okay. You can always type them in the chat if you don't want to go vocal. All right. So why the PMP? Well, as I mentioned, this is going to be like recognized. So I urge people to go on to LinkedIn Jobs and go search project management positions or a position that you would like. And look, because majority of them, especially any government jobs or regulated jobs, those are going to require that PMP. No matter how much experience you have. If you've got 20 years and no PMP and someone's got 10 years and a PMP, they are going to get selected. And everyone recognizes too, like certifications are the way to go. Like a certification versus a college degree, certification is really, really stating, hey, I really know this specific area. All right, I think Renee just joined us too.
That's interesting. I just wanted to jump in really quickly. It's
Yeah.
interesting that you say that because I've been trying to take a project management course from so many different angles for the past maybe 6 months. And so I'm really excited to be here. Let me just say that. But also, there at the school that I'm currently going to online, I actually spoke to an advisor. And they're there to advise. So I asked him, like, okay, this is where I'm at right now. I had just completed my associates. And at that point, my choice was between going forward and just starting my bachelor's program or doing a project management program. So I chose to do the project management program, and it sort of didn't work out. So I ended up calling, advising, and speaking to them. And I really wanted to know from someone, what does it look like from your professional standpoint when somebody has an associate's and certifications? Like, would I actually be able to take this certification and, even if it's something entry level, be able to use what I've learned and keep progressing? Or are they kind of going to see it as, okay, it's nice that you have this, but like, what about the college education? And the teacher kind of was like, yeah, I mean, you can get the certification, but to expect to kind of use it right away, I don't know how realistic that is. And that really deterred me. So it's just interesting that different people have different perspectives on what it looks like for somebody that has a whole bunch of certifications or versus somebody that, is more college driven or degree driven rather.
Yeah, happy to give you my professional opinion just from my experience. Yes, do a lot of places want that 4-year degree? Yes, I will say that. However, if you were to look, and I'm saying if I was to go back and do this again, and if I was to look at my MBA were getting the PMP and which one would I start with, I would have gone back and started with the PMP before getting my MBA. And be 100% honest on that one. Because in school, when they teach you project management, it's not going to be the same as getting your certification. I see this all the time. I have an MBA, but if someone has a PMP and a 4-year degree, they're going to get it over me if I didn't have my PMP. Does that make sense?
It does. And I'm just kind of asking the question from the perspective of like, I have my associates and I was going to continue to my bachelor's, but I can do both at the same time. But again, if I do end up being able to get into the program, like it's really something I wanted to do in anyway. So just sort of thinking towards in what position it'll put me in by the time I'm done is my perspective.
Yes.
Make a lot of
So
sense. It's specialized education versus it being
it is
spread out.
specialized.
Yeah,
Yes.
Brittany, unfortunately, it sounds like that instructor may have done you a little bit of a disservice.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. And in the academic world, that's kind of to be understood. The fact of the matter is right now, and I would encourage you to just Google it, but the fact of the matter is that most major employers are looking for certifications just as much as they are, or even more so than they are degrees, even within our company. Why? Because once you get a 4-year degree, 2-year degree even, and you hit the workforce, what you learned 2 years or 4 years ago is probably not even relevant to what we're doing right now, the way technology moves, right? Certifications is right now, here's what's going on in industry, and it shows that you're proficient in that. So not to knock degrees. Degrees are great. I got a ton of them. However, as an employer, when someone comes to me, I want to know that I can start right away and I don't have to train them overall in everything that I need them to do. So if they're going to be on a project team, if they're going to be using Agile, which we do, your 4-year degree has zero value to me in that instance, unless it was in this field in your most recent classes, because I still have to train you in my processes and the process that the organization uses for running projects. And that costs me money and that costs me time. So what companies are, especially if you're in tech, if you're in construction, if you're in real estate, if you're in healthcare, education even, it's a much more desired approach. The additional proof is that there's been studies done that say certification actually helps you in your academic performance.
Yes.
One of the things we teach quite a bit is test taking techniques. So you'll learn how to become a better test taker by taking your PMP certification, and you can apply that to your associates, or if you go on to a bachelor's degree. Typically, too, certifications are not only fast and they're short education, but employers are willing to pay more. So if you combine a certification with your degree, your salary level just shot up, anywhere from 10 to 15% instantly by having that certification. And I could go on and on about so many different advantages. The great thing with the project management certification is that you'll be learning from other people that are not in your industry. Some of the best knowledge comes from transferring from some other industry that seems totally irrelevant, but you'll realize that you can apply those core principles to what you do, right? So Izzy mentioned that I dabble in so many industries. Part of the reason is because I'm a project management professional, and that's what we do. We can run and deliver business value across any industry with the principles that we have. So the benefit of a certification, Brittany, is you decide you want to leave that industry, not just that company, but you want to switch to a different industry. That project management certification is transferable, but my healthcare degree is a healthcare degree only, you see? So there's one of the additional benefits. So Google it, take a look at it. There's a ton of information about the value and why employers now look more so for certifications. Not that degrees are going to become defunct, but they're so expensive now and they take so long that people are opting for certifications. All right. So long answer to a short question, but I hope that was helpful.
I prefer the details. And let me say, Mr. Andre, you told me to look on Google. However, you sound like Google. So I don't know how much more I have to look. I love thorough answers.
You'll find Brittany, Brittany, you'll find in the class that I know a little about a lot. So
That's what I say about myself. So
yeah,
I identify. I love that. Thank you for your help.
excellent, excellent. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah, I agreed. Like, here where I'm at, I'm in Louisville, and we have Humana, which is huge. And they often hire people with an associate's and certifications. So it's a very, very large company that I know personally that does that. So don't be scared to get the certification and start working and get the experience. Because as Andre hit home, like, once you're in class and you've already had the experience when you're doing your degrees, like, it will make so much more sense and it'll start lighting up new light bulbs. Or at least it did for me. All right. So some of those industries, I always love to just say, like, don't forget that when you have your PMP, that you can also do contract work, and that you can, you know, go get these jobs here and there if you like that spontaneity. But there is a lot of jobs that have a lot of security in them, such as government, education, business, private sector. Those aren't going anywhere. And they need project managers more than ever because they do need the people that have the terminology, that have the experience, and that can really follow a process. So what industry? What industry can you do this in? So as you probably already got from me, that you can do this in just about any industry. Every industry has projects, right? Every industry has projects. So as you come in as a project professional, again, this is transferable skills. Yes, there's a little bit of, like, just knowing how that industry works. And it can be really fun to get to know all of those. I love getting on new projects that I don't know anything about. It allows our brains to expand. And if you're like me, I'm certification and degree junkie. I think I just keep going. My dad calls me a forever student just because I keep going back. So this is a fantastic certification if you are also one of those people too. All right, so just real quick, we wanted to touch on what's the impact of poor project management, and then what is the positive impact of great project management. So we can look at some of these, like missed deadlines, cost overruns. If you've ever been on a project where it's like the people up above, they didn't really understand project management very well, and you're sitting there trying to give them this information, and it just goes awry. These are some of the things that will happen. Versus if you can implement project management, you can show them, hey, like, these are the steps that we're going to do. You know, I have my PMP. I can show you, because PMI has tons and tons of reports on this stuff. This is what's going to end up happening. You're going to reduce and manage the risks. You're going to know how to do that. We're going to teach you. You are going to know how to manage the change and satisfy the stakeholders and create predictability and be able to deliver it on time. And that's one thing that agile project management really helps with. And so we will dive into that more as well. So this is the big question that everyone has. How do I get my PMP? What are the requirements? So first and foremost, you will have to submit an application, and the application has to be approved before you can schedule your PMP exam. Within that application is what you're looking at here on the screen. So on the left side, you can have the high school degree plus 5 years of project management, or you can have a 4-year degree and 3 years of project management. Now, I know you're like, oh, a lot of people are going, oh my gosh, do I have enough of that experience? Most likely you do, and we will help you within the program to figure out which projects that will work with, that you can put on that list. You will need to take the project management 35 hours, which is the PMP exam prep, regardless. And while you're in there, you're going to be learning the terms that they are going to want to see on the application. So that's important as well. Now, if you're like, I don't know if I really don't think I have enough hours, it's okay. You have plenty of time. You can do volunteer projects. You can work with your church. You can maybe find a project at work that you can get signed up and start working on that with. So there are possibilities. We've heard a lot. So we will help you and make sure that you are prepared to submit that application. Within that application, you will need your certificate, your start and end date of your 35 hours, which again is that PMP exam prep. All right, I know that's a lot. So any questions on this? We're happy to answer them.
Here I am again.
Yes. No, yes, good.
So I've seen this before, and this was my deterrent before. As I just stated, I have my associates. I'm a program coordinator at a nonprofit organization currently that specializes in peer recovery, and I have been there for about 4 years now. And
That's great.
I'm like a jack of all trades type of person. So the things that I have done are, we lost our manager during COVID. So I've been project managing and project coordinating and all this other stuff. It's just my degree is only 2 years. So
That's
I just don't know how I would even swing that, right? Because I only have an associate. So if that would be the case, I do have my high school diploma, but then that increases the amount of years that I would have to be in the project management experience. So it's like, this is what stops me before.
I don't think that should stop you at all. It really sounds like you probably do have that 5 years. If you've been there for 4, as long as there's no like overlapping. So if you've been there for 4 years, that's 4 years of experience that we can help you break down and put onto that resume, or not the application.
Yeah, Brittany, really quickly, Izzy, sorry for the background of this guy. Speaking of
Okay.
jack of all trades, I'm actually at a client construction site, so I apologize for that. But Brittany, yeah, what you just described is more than enough time.
Yes.
In demonstrated experience. So don't worry about it. Like as you said, we walk you through how to complete the application, what goes on it. So you've got the requisite, you don't have to have that 4-year degree. Combine that degree with the amount of project time, especially the types of roles you're playing right now. That is enough, well more than enough to get it. Keep this in mind. There's people that haven't worked for years, don't have a degree, but they're able to leverage the work that they did in the past and then some of their personal projects. Those count as well, right? So there's people that do take on home repair type projects, et cetera, that I've seen put on the application. So you have more than enough. So don't worry.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. As soon as you said what role you're in 4 years, I'm like, oh, you got it. No problem. You should be worrying less than some other people we've talked to.
I'm a worry word, but okay. Thank you.
I hope that calms some of it a little bit. All right. So
Izzy, there was
we're-
another question in the
Was
chat.
there?
I'm sorry.
Yes, I did see. Oh, yes. Are we recording this? We are recording this. So the replay will be available. All right. Any other questions? Feel free, drop them in the chat. I'll be able to see them over on the side. And then we'll also ask some more questions here in just a moment too. All right. So what's the difference between principles of project management and the PMP exam prep? So in principles, if you do not have a ton of project management experience, maybe you are just you feel like you're in the dark about the vocabulary and terminology and agile concepts, I would highly recommend being in the principles class before taking the PMP exam prep. The reason being how these are different is we're really looking at that practical application stuff that you can take and implement now or tomorrow at your work, at your job, or in your career, versus the PMP exam prep is that it is an exam prep class. Will you be learning in that class? Most definitely. But it can feel overwhelming if you do not have the principles first, if all of this is new. So I would highly recommend taking the principles. Going back, I wish I would have taken the principles first. It cuts down on some of that exam time or that exam prep time as well. All right, any questions about principles? All right, so the exam prep. We are an ATP, so an authorized training provider. So that means that we are linked with PMI, and PMI sends us some really fantastic materials to help you prepare for the current exam. And I say that because they do change the exam every 2 years. So we always caution people to be careful if you're going and studying something on Udemy or something like that, because it could be outdated and it could be from previous exams. So we want to give you the most relevant, the most important. And that's what we also encourage you to really utilize this and prepare for taking the exam, schedule your exam, get it all in a row, because it will change in 2 years. Now, the good news is it just changed. So you really do have those 2 years. I know for me, it was like, oh, it's getting ready to change. I gotta hurry up so that I don't miss something. And the new PMBOK book just came out as well. Now, when you take the class with us, we get you the PowerPoint slides, we get you the digital PMBOK and Agile and all of that stuff, which is really important because if you go on Amazon and buy it yourself, they're from 50 and up on price wise. So we're going to make sure that you get that for free within all of this. It's included. All right. So it is changing. As you can see, ways of working, people is a huge part of it, not just processes, and then really looking at that business environment as well. Yes, so we provide the digital PMBOK. So we will provide that. And
Hi.
other ones.
Sorry, I've got a quick question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I
Hey,
probably
Ashley.
raised my hand. Hi, Izzy. So you mentioned about there being like a new version of both the exam and the prep material. I've done this course too many times now, but I haven't taken the exam. And I last did training, I think, in like fall of 2021. Is there a later version of material?
Yes, we literally just got it maybe 3 months ago.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Brand new material. So it's good. And there's a lot more detail in this new material as well. So, which is great because you all will get those slides and you can utilize those slides to study from as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, great question.
Quick question.
Yes.
You mentioned that there was the basic PMI and then there's the portion after that. That's like a longer duration of time. That portion is the test prep, correct?
Yeah, so there's principles, which is kind of like an introduction to project management, really introducing the terms, the vocabulary, some of those core processes. And then the second one, which is the 12 sessions, it's the bigger one. That is the PMI PMP exam prep class.
Okay. Thank you.
Very welcome. And so we really, we want to make sure that you have principles available to you. What's the term? Drinking from a fire hose, or a water hose, like where it's just like, it's a ton of information. Even for me, and Ashley has been in this for a while too, like doing the exam prep, it can still be a lot of information, but a lot of the familiarity is there. Principles is where you can really just kind of sit down and you can soak it in and you're not like, oh my gosh, okay, I need to know these terms. So that's the difference in vibe between the two classes too. All right. So we will teach again a lot of the agile. There will be a little bit of agile and scrum kind of go together as well in how we work and how the team works. So that will also be on the exam and in the study material. So it is a new way of working, which we want to tell you about because there are still a lot of organizations that are taking on this agile transformation, and you can help facilitate that in better ways to work and how to use those project management software programs too. Like we use it everywhere now. All right. So I know we've had a lot of questions, but here's the time. If you've had one that's burning, to please ask it, comments, questions, anything of that nature. Oh, and we also have Renee. Renee, do you want to give any words of wisdom?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
And I noticed that Mr. Andre, I think he probably left the
Yeah,
chat.
he just
But anyway, I wanted to know, I've heard about Scrum, and I noticed that he had the Scrum certification attached to his name. And I was trying to figure out the difference between Agile and Scrum.
Mm,
I mean,
yeah, great question. So Scrum and being a Scrum Master is another role. When you're a Scrum Master, you will be very familiar with project management, but you will be under the project manager. So let's take an example of a project Ashley was on too. So there were multiple teams. And so a scrum master had one or two teams that they were working with specifically to make sure that work was being done and documented and everyone was staying on track. So it's kind of like a miniature project manager. You're not managing the entire project, but you're really helping and making sure that the work is staying in alignment with the overall project.
okay, do they offer, like, I know they offer like or a separate certification for Scrum.
That is a
Do they do
separate
the same thing for
certification.
Agile as well?
So for Agile, you can specialize in Agile and you can do the PMI, PMP, and then there's the PMI ACP. Now, the ACP certification is generally you have to have more experience. They urge you to have your PMP already. So that's something that you would probably get maybe a year down the road after getting your PMP. You would then start preparing for the ACP if you wanted to take that certification as well.
Hey, Izzy, you want me to explain it? My microphone is working
Yes,
now.
please.
Okay, good morning, you all. Sorry, I didn't really chime in earlier. I am an acquisition program manager, and I'm finding myself always at work, so that's where I'm at right now. So I think when I just called back in, the difference was actually between the ACP and the PMP. So actually, the ACP is a very specific certification that deals with more of the agile aspects of project management. So if you go onto the PMI website, it kind of shows you the hierarchy of the certifications. The ACP can be considered, I guess, somewhat of a lower certification. So it would give you good information to prep for it. Um, what I would do personally in your situation is that I would go for the PMP and not the ACP. I have an ACP, and the reason why I have an ACP is that I took the older PMP exam. That exam was based off of traditional project management. So by the time the exam changed to the sixth edition, there was a lot more focus on things like business management processes um, and people instead of some of the traditional project management aspects that include earned value management, which some of you may have heard of or not. So in order for me to be a more effective instructor at PMP, I took the ACP so I could understand that perspective as well. So you won't go wrong with having either. It's understood nowadays that if you do take a more recent version, which is now the sixth or the seventh, can't take the sixth anymore, but the seventh edition, that start from the sixth edition, that you pretty much have the understanding of an ACP. There's a lot of organizations that don't necessarily, they want you to be agile, but they don't put as much weight. The heavier weight that you have is the PMP. So I would recommend that if you wanted both, that you kind of put that effort in up front because the PMP is a much harder exam than the ACP. And by the time you do the preparations for the PMP, trying to study for the ACP is a much lighter lift. So, for example, when I took the ACP, I did it during COVID. Um, at the time, I did an online training plan. I had taken Scrum classes before because there's aspects of Scrum in it. And I was able to, pass it with not that much effort. And it's because of the fact that I already had PMP. I already had Scrum training, and a lot of that information was transferable.
So,
But again, when I
Renee, would
Hmm?
would you recommend, of course, we always recommend the PMP above Scrum, but would she necessarily need a Scrum certification with having the PMP?
Yes, because they're kind of different, right? There's principles of both in both exams. So with the PMP, what it's really focusing on are the project management processes, right? So it goes into a little bit more information when you talk about things like risk management, scope management. When you're talking about initiating a project, it goes through things such as like your market research, developing your charter, and things of that nature. What Scrum specifically focuses on is how to get the work done. It's how to estimate the work, how to run your work, and you'll hear the term sprints. And sprints are usually durations of 1 to 4 weeks. Typically, you'll see about 2 weeks, where you're able to kind of run and time box the work so that you're making sure that you're getting a certain amount of work done during certain times. So where Scrum is very effective is after you get into what would be more considered the executing phase of the work. That's where you get more value with Scrum itself, whereas PMP is more of a holistic version of a life cycle of a project. Does that answer your question?
I think that did. I think that did.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
You're
Great.
welcome.
All right. So as you all can see, Renee, your instructor, is extremely knowledgeable. So I'm so glad that you were able to get on and answer that for us.
No problem. And I'll introduce myself really quickly. So I'm Renee. For PG, I would be the primary instructor. Andre and I kind of do it together. And just my background really quickly. I'm an acquisition program manager for the government. Right now, I'm managing about 5 different assets that total about $1.5 billion a piece. And I do it through the whole life cycle where we started the contracting phase until we make an our end of the life cycle is not necessarily when it gets dismantled because you'll hear about closing, but for us it's when it gets put into operation. So that's what I do, my day job. So
That's a lot. That's a lot. No wonder why you're at work all the time now.
oh God, they're killing me. Yeah.
All
So
right. Well, so everyone, we do have the principles of project management will be starting on the 15th, which is next week. How exciting. That will end on the 6th, and then the PMP exam prep begins on the 7th. So if you are interested in getting registered, you can go register. There still is, and Crystal can correct me, I think there's still some workforce development scholarships. If you do need that, maybe your work is not paying for it or you're not paying for it out of pocket, then you can email her directly to get registered for that one.
Yes, that's correct. You'll see my email address and my phone number in the green section on this page, brownka1@pgcc.edu, and my phone number 301-546-0712. If you want to take the principals class and you're not currently registered, I need to get you registered as soon as possible because I do send out the Zoom link and information on how to log into Canvas, which is our online platform, so that you can attend the class and see all of the materials that Renee will be posting in the Canvas shell for you to begin your class on Monday of next week. So, you can wait a little bit for the PMP class, but the sooner the better, and especially because the deadline for me to submit names to financial aid office is coming up quickly. It's I believe on June 2nd or 3rd that I have to submit all of the names for classes that will be beginning from now until the beginning of June. So I will need to know very quickly if you're interested in taking either or both of the classes, so I can submit your names to the financial aid office. And, you know, those funds are available right now. Don't know if funds will be available in the fall semester. So you're coming in at a good time to take the classes now, and you won't regret it. They're very interactive. Renee is an excellent instructor. She gives her world experience. You know, she's on her job now, and you know, she'll share some of those things that we can relate to, and she'll also ask us to share some projects that we're currently working on so that we can apply the terminology, we can apply the principles and all of that. So you know, you won't regret it. It'll be a great experience for you.
Fantastic. Yes. One of the things I of all of my schooling, I have not regretted is doing project management training. So we appreciate you all for being here.
Real quick, can I
You-
ask two more questions?
oh,
Sorry,
yes.
just real quick.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. What do you all think about as far as the PMI membership joining the association, the organization?
Yes, do it.
So
Um,
you kind of, the way it works, you kind of don't have a choice, right? So if you take the exam, it's kind of where the cost of the membership is bundled with the membership. After that, it's best for you to keep the membership because there's going to be annual costs, and I think it's went up a little bit. It's like 169, so that would be like automatically charged. And then at the every 3 years, you have to go back and certify, and that's where you go and you make sure that all of your PDUs are within the system, and it's like $60. So over like a 3 year period, you're looking at about $500. Um, if you don't go back and certify your PDUs, then you lose your certification. You have to take the exam again. So it's just best to, keep up with the costs and just do it. Um, it is worth doing it because it gives you, I used to, before I started teaching PMP certification classes, I was very active with a local PMI chapter, and it gave me access to a lot of information. It gave me, there at the time, a lot of people were experiencing layoffs, so there were resources to help project managers, to find information for new positions. And then also, if you are looking to do something else and you have that certification, it also help for you to network and meet people and do that. It means a really good resource to be a part of.
yeah, fantastic. Yeah, and I don't know the exact numbers, but it's like, it's 120, let's say, for the PMI membership. And if you have it, then you get like $200 off your exam. So it's like, it's kind of one of those no-brainers, like as Renee would say, it kind of forces you to do it.
Yeah.
But
And then
it's a
just know too, if you get the ACP, you also have to, it's kind of the same thing. It's a little bit lower with the prices, but you also have to keep up with that as well. So as many certifications as you have will be a separate cost for each one.
so
Thank you.
PMP is well, in this case, we'll say queen because there's more of a women us here.
Yeah, I definitely say, if you're going to do any of them, go for the PMP first. It gives you a bigger bang for your buck, and it's, there's a lot of organizations that, still are not super comfortable with the PMI ACP certification until they start reading into it. But I mean, because PMP has been around for so long, everybody knows what it is, and there is a large difference. And I'll just touch on this briefly. I work for the government, so it's a little bit different because we have acquisition certifications we have to do here. But as I was a contractor, um, you know, as a contractor like 12 years ago, it was highly recommended having a PMP. And then because I was a hiring manager, I saw the price difference in having it. And usually you saw at least a difference of $5,000 to $10,000 a year for somebody that was in a position and later on the same one. So It pays for itself.
It does.
I am sorry I have to run
Yeah.
because again, I'm not
Yeah.
even supposed to be on. Not supposed to be on video, but I have to run. So hope to see you all in class on Monday. We'll have fun. I tell bad jokes, terrible at it, and you'll enjoy it as much as you can enjoy academic stuff. You will enjoy it.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you, Renee.
You're welcome. Take care.
All right. Any last questions before we wrap it up? Did you have one more? Yeah. All right. Well, I will upload this replay and I will send you all the deck. And of course, you can always reach out to me or Crystal. And we look forward to seeing you in class on Monday.
Yes. Yes, looking forward. I'll hop in at the beginning of the class if I can, and then Renee will take it over, and you will have a wonderful experience. So if you're interested, if you're not registered yet, even if you aren't currently a registered student at Prince George's Community College, I can send you instructions to get that process started, and then register you for either or both of the classes. So thank you all very much for attending today. I really appreciate it. And thank you,
Thank you
Izzy.
both so
Appreciate
much. Thank you so much,
Thank
both of
you.
you.
Yeah. We've got Mother's Day coming up. So happy Mother's Day to any mamas on the call today
Yes,
too.
happy Mother's Day to all.
Same to you both.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Bye,
Take
everyone.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.